Hello, welcome to my video presentation, Meeting Learners' Needs, the Challenges and Triumphs in Special Needs Education. So today we are going to talk about key elements in meeting additional learning needs. We're going to be interpreting key issues in special needs practice, and then we are going to perform a critical evaluation of current research on an identified key issue. So the interviewee is a 25-year-old male Welsh special educational needs teacher, 3 years experience as a teaching assistant. He's also completed a primary PGC at Swansea University and has just completed his first term as a newly qualified SEN teacher. He leads a small classroom of about 5 of mixed-age learners between 14 and 17. His classroom do have very diverse needs. Most have non-verbal communication needs, and a few also have personal care needs. And he's also aiming predominantly for foundation level objectives such as counting, reading, telling the time, and fine motor developments. When we're talking about some key elements to meeting his class's needs, categorize these into 3 categories. The first, motor development. And so his class have morning communal physical activity and daytime ball games. They also learn motor development through artistic expression by cutting and sticking shapes for fine motor development. Basic cooking skills such as knife skills, mixing and kneading dough also encourages sensory exploitation as well as motor development. Encouraging use of different sign language depending on which is more comfortable for the person, and Play-Doh activities again for sensory and motor development. When it comes to communicating non-verbally, he uses other strategies such as Makaton sign language, which has been found to easier to comprehend and learn due to the nature of the signs being more connected to what you're talking about. Visual supports as well, such as traffic light systems for different contexts and time and such. Augmentative and alternative communication. So this is just a posh way of saying, gestures, pointing at pictures, paper-based symbols, or spelling boards, and also high-tech computer-based speaking devices. He also uses colours to help assign different times to the day for routine purposes. So purple, for example, is lunchtime. And then also when it comes to personal care, he engages in day-to-day activities such as going to the supermarket, helping with laundry and making cups of tea to encourage personal independence. You can also book sessions with his children for personal development specialists about puberty, so they can go through some storyboarding and specialist books on personal care and hygiene and changes to the body. He's also put sensory objects and decoration in the classroom bathrooms to encourage those with personal care needs to take independent bathroom time if they want it. So one of the primary concerns that he spoke about is staffing issues. He commented he is working in a school with a high turnover rate and a heavy reliance on supply teaching, as well as an inadequate amount of teaching assistants in most classrooms. These factors can significantly impact the quality of education and support he feels he can provide to students. Next, he also says he faces resource constraints. This includes a shortage of learning materials, assistive technology, and physical infrastructure tailored to the needs of SEN students. These resources are crucial for facilitating effective learning experiences and ensuring that all students can access education equally. Time management is also another significant challenge, as teachers often find themselves with limited time for lesson planning, individualized instruction, and administrative tasks. This also can lead to a less effective teaching strategies and a lack of personalized attention for students who may need it most. It is important to note that these categories are not mutually exclusive and often intersect. For example, staff shortages can exacerbate time management challenges, and resource constraints can make it more difficult to address staffing issues. Addressing these challenges requires a comprehensive approach. This includes policy support, funding, training, awareness raising, but by tackling these issues head on, we can create a more inclusive and effective learning environment for all students. Spoke that he faces in work. For example, he feels like he cannot meet all the diverse needs of his students because of the breadth of their needs. And he feels like this can sometimes lead to tasks that do not challenge his students effectively. He also finds that the level of paperwork required can detract from his teaching time. He also faces issues with EHC plans. He feels like these are often not up to the mark and do not adequately meet the needs of SEN students. Currently, there's also an ongoing ADHD medication shortage, which is affecting the day-to-day normality for his pupils. Communication with external support and professionals can also be challenging. There's also a lack of training for personal care needs in supply teachers, and so most feel uncomfortable acting that in his class. And parental communication can be difficult too. He often finds that the parents of his children in his class are quite infantilizing. And it seems that these are issues that a teacher cannot plan or control, but can only influence, and so causes problems in that way. To a critical evaluation of current research on an identified key issue, and so we're going to talk about staffing issues. So why are there staffing issues? And there are teacher shortages. It's reported 92.3% of schools are experiencing shortages of support staff, and 83.4% are experiencing shortages of teaching staff. If there are issues to retaining staff, such as low pay rates because of the excessive workload and also the lack of upward movement in school settings. There is also, it's affected by supply and demand of the job market. It could be directly affected by factors such as local funding and pupil demands, but also indirect factors such as economic growth or inflation. Effectiveness of teaching. So a low teaching supply has been shown to create an excess workload for staff members, increased intervention delays, and decreased individual attention. But also the shortage undermines equal educational opportunities, as this shortage is definitively heightened for ALN schools. However, critics of this argue that studies often encounter sample bias, as students who have low staff will be more likely to participate in these studies, and that shortage is a subjective term depending on the context. Other studies have also found that while having a consistent teacher is ideal, a good quality supplied teacher can still provide an effective education. And that others have said that there is an overemphasis on quantity and not the quality of teaching, and instead they suggest that a focus on recruiting and retaining high quality teachers could be more beneficial than simply increasing the number of teachers. Taking into account all sides of this, I found that critics do not often try to address the cyclical nature of this issue. That there is a perpetual nature of low staffing in ALN teachers that is linked to a decrease in job retention. Schools could individually do more. However, the shortage of ALN staff ultimately resulted from a failure of the education system to ultimately and adequately fill the job market as well. And there does need to be more research and more studies that are done on ways to increase the amount of ALN trained educational staff in the UK. But from what I have found, the teacher interviewed would definitely agree that both quality and quantity of ALN staff are both needed. So just want to say thank you for your time, and following this is the bibliography for this presentation. Thank you. Here is one page of the bibliography if you'd like to pause. And here is the second page. Thank you.